I'm shaking my head, Frankie. I'm shaking it because
Why?
after beating the franchise record with 10 extra points, they somehow still get the Lightning in the first round. But hey, last year they got the easy round, right? And they still blew it. So maybe this is a good thing. At least that's what Sheldon Keefe will try to have his players believe and us, the fans, believe. What do you think, though, going into this series?
I don't know what to think anymore. Stop. People gotta stop asking me. I don't know, man. It's yeah.
What?
I'm
Okay.
really
What?
fighting this.
What gives you what gives you the biggest concern going into this series? Let's start there. Other than the fact that the Lightning are amazing and they're the back-to-back champs.
Biggest concern for me, number one, is goaltending. I think Tampa has such a you look at every possible category, every stat, every skill, advanced analytics, whatever. I would say Tampa and Toronto are relatively close in most categories. Goaltending is such a distinct gap, maybe more than any series, I think. And Campbell's not it's not a bad goalie, but you cannot compare Campbell to Vasilevsky. You can't, right? And I think that's the biggest gap and biggest concern I have. The fact that Vasilevsky can steal a series on his own. He's done it before. He's won back-to-back cups. He's a Vezina winner. He's a Conn Smythe winner too, I believe. He can flip it on like a light
Yeah.
switch.
He's a playoff
So,
performer, man. I heard a stat that he had 22 goals saved above expected last year's playoffs, and the
yep.
next closest goalie was Price with 12. So 10 more than him.
And that's playoff price.
Yeah.
How scary is now, walking into against Vasilevsky if he's that much better, right? Um,
Remember last year when the Habs played them and the Habs fans were complaining about how big Vasilevsky is with all that equipment? And Leaf fans, we made fun of them. Like, stop whining. Watch all the Leaf fans complain about how big his equipment is this series. It's happening for sure.
do me a favor. If you Google the All-Star game this year, there's a picture of Vasilevsky, Campbell, and I don't remember the third. No, they're actually, sorry, two goalies. They were standing side by side, and then you would get a better idea of just how
Yeah.
big Vasilevsky's equipment is compared to Campbell.
Yeah.
It's
Campbell looks
it's
like his little
actually it's
brother now.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. If I look at a couple stats, I look at the fact that I know I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but let's talk about 5-on-5, right? They're both decent 5-on-5 teams. But when you talk about goaltending at 5-on-5, the difference in goals against, you're looking at a 909 at 5-on-5 for the Leafs, which is close to last in the NHL, like 27th, versus a 922 for Tampa, which is just outside the top 10, 11. That's a distinct difference. So again, special teams. Can the Leafs keep up at 5-on-5? You're hoping, but that's a pretty good indication where that's where maybe Tampa can take control of the series. So there's a lot of things too that you look at to say, can Campbell give you that save? Tampa can have sustained pressure in the zone. Can Campbell give you that save to calm everything down? Can he, slow the plate out by covering the puck, or the other way around? What if the Leafs have sustained pressure on Vasilevsky and Vasilevsky is keeping them in the game? Tampa goes back on one rush and scores. You know what I mean? Like those deflating type goals. We've seen it before. That is a concern for me. So I'm going to leave it at that because I can throw any stat out. It really doesn't matter. Vasilevsky is the most superior goalie to Campbell and in this playoffs. And for lack of a better term, I'm scared shitless to play him. It is what I don't care. We have Matthews, a 60 goal scorer. Marner was career goals. Nylander was career goals. I'm scared to play the guy. And it doesn't hurt that you got probably the best defenseman in the league helping you out in front. Probably going to put about 25 minutes a game. So there you go.
Yeah.
Don't want to be Debbie Downer, but that's just a fact.
Don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I'm gonna crush your soul. Yeah,
But I some good stuff.
the more I've thought about it and accepted the fact that we're gonna play them in the first round, I've had a lot of concern. But my biggest concern It's not the Tampa Bay great players or the great Tampa Bay goalie or the great Tampa Bay coach. It's between the ears of the Maple Leafs themselves. They have a problem themselves. My greatest fear is them, because if Tampa gets behind in this series and digs themselves a hole, or in a game digs themselves a hole, nobody questions their players' ability to make a big check, make a big play, make a big save to kind of flip the series and get right back into the series. Whereas I have every reason in the world to question the Maple Leafs. Last year in Game 7 against Montreal, going into the third period, there was no pushback and they were down a couple goals. And you could say, oh, but the Leafs, they proved it last week against Washington. Yeah, in the regular season. In the regular season, they've proven that they can face adversity and come out of it. But in the playoffs, they haven't. So that's what they have to prove to me, and why I'm not confident in it. Apparently, they hired some renowned sports psychologist to talk to the players, and Jack Campbell actually credited him with kind of turning around his game later in the season. They know that it's in between their ears as well. And it'll come down to that, I think. One thing that gives me, hope is their special teams this year. Their special teams have been great. Top power play in the league. Their penalty kill has been awesome. A real threat to score shorthanded. That could be a difference. A shorthanded goal at the right time. You never know. But I'm going into the playoffs last year against Montreal. Their power play was terrible.
Yeah,
it was awful, and it was a killer. It probably cost them the series. They need it to be great because Tampa's got a great power play as well. So if they can win the special teams battle, which they can because they're really good at both, I think they got a shot.
I'm going to look at a different area of why I feel some pretty good hope. I look at the line combinations. You're obviously going to see a lot of Braden Point, Stamkos, Palat, or pick your poison, Kucherov, Killorn. Obviously that, right? Tampa doesn't have that third line like they did last year of Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow.
They think they do.
But they don't. I think the Leafs' third line is actually better than Tampa's third line, and that's even recently. I like if they keep it together. If they go with Kampf, Mikheyev, and Engvall, and I'm guessing because we haven't seen them practice. We're probably going to practice tomorrow because we're recording this on Saturday night, so we're probably going to get our first look at the line combination Sunday. And we don't really know for sure if Bunting's playing, if Cash is playing. I've heard rumblings that they both are, believe it or not, but at least Bunting might be closer. So there's talk where Mikheyev, Nylander, Tavares might be your second line, and then Kerfoot drops down with Engvall, and I believe who was on the other side there. It may have been Blackwell. I'm not sure. But let's just say they go with the Kampf, Mikheyev, Engvall line, I like that. I like them defensively. I like them offensively. I think there's a maturity there with both Mikheyev and Engvall where they were virtually invisible last year. And look what they've done this year. And I think they didn't have that last year. They were so dependent on Matthews and Marner. And your best player, I think your leading scorer was Nylander, and the second was Kerfoot. That's not a recipe for success. We're all expecting Matthews and Marner to lead, which is obviously what should happen. But getting those depth scoring like Tampa got when they needed it from their third line is a big piece of this puzzle. But credit Tampa. Why did they win? Because Tampa's best players were their best players, right? It goes
talk
without
about
saying.
depth all you want. The best players got to be the best.
Yes, it goes without saying. But if you want to look at it from a strategic standpoint, there's a very good chance that whenever Matthews is on the ice, you can guarantee that one of Hedman or McDonough are on the ice. Obviously, we're a little more afraid of Hedman than McDonough because McDonough's getting up there in age, but still, he's a playoff performer.
I don't care about Hedman. I don't want to hear the excuses. All Hedman locked him down. Matthews, you're in the conversation for the Hart Trophy.
That's right.
You might actually win the Hart Trophy. You need to win that matchup. I don't care. And there's no excuses.
And I tell you
He's
another,
good enough to win that matchup.
and I'll tell you another thing. My microscope, like I'm really looking at Nylander because here's what's a little unfair for Nylander. Nylander was outstanding in last year's playoff. I just made mention. He had career numbers this year in the regular season. If he doesn't do that in this playoffs, what's everybody going to say? Get rid of him.
Blame Nylander.
You can't win with him. You can't, you can lose with him. You can't, whatever, right? If he does do well, okay? If he does do well and puts up the same points and goals and whatever, and they somehow win, they're going to say, well, shoot, he wasn't their best player, but we can trade him because his value is at an all-time high. You might get, some good assets back. The guy is in a no-win situation.
Poor Willie.
Think about it, right? Because if you're expecting Matthews and Marner to be the best players, which they should, and Nylander's kind of like your supporting guy, I think the writing's starting to become on the wall that they can win without this guy. And I'm a big Nylander fan, right? I really am. But I'm just starting to see more and more that I think there's a lot of pressure on this guy too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the banner outside. Did you see this? The banner outside of Scotiabank.
Oh my goodness, so much talk and whiny people about this. Who cares?
Who cares? But if you want to read into it, I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying.
He probably had to fix his hair and he wasn't ready on time or something. Wasn't ready for the photo shoot. Okay, Bunting, get in here.
One thing lastly I'll say, Joe, is I like the fact that the Leafs have home ice advantage.
For sure.
First time since 2004. What I'm hoping Keefe doesn't do, where he failed against Montreal and I guess into a sense Columbus, Keefe's got to stick to his game plan. He can't outcoach himself. He can't start loading up lines and go to what works. Don't go into the well and put some stuff together you've never seen before. This is the best team we've seen in a long time. If you want to talk about composition of points, wins, and like I said, Keefe has a habit of just doing things out of the ordinary and out coaching himself. Stick to what you got. Believe in the team that you got in front of you because they got you here, and ride your horses, man. Ride them, and just keep the chemistry together. They have a punching chance, a puncher's chance.
Of course they do. They have more than that. The series is a coin flip, but if you're got to pick on that coin flip, you're going to pick Tampa because you've seen them do it. Why wouldn't you pick them? Right? So we'll see. Game 1 starts on Monday. We're only a couple days away. We might even be on live after the game, post game, like we did last year. We got a lot of feedback. People like chatting about the game right after, so we'll probably do that. And we look forward to talking to you then, hopefully after a Leafs Game 1 win.
Are we throwing out any predictions here
for Game 1?
No, in general.
I think they're gonna go by their MO. They'll lose in 7.
All right, I'll be different. I'll take the Leafs in 7.
Okay. I think if they go to 7, they're gonna just poop their pants. Just those 2 words, Game 7, just scares the crap out of them. Hopefully, it doesn't even have to come to that.
We'll see.